I'm here in Medjugorje and I'm with, what's your name?
Dan Bowl.
And where are you from, Dan?
I'm from Indiana.
And when did you hear the first time in your life about Medjugorje, and what did you think when you heard about it, the story?
My mother-in-law heard about it first around 1982, 83, and I was in the Army out in Fort Ord, California, and two women who had been to Medjugorje came and gave a talk, and my wife went to the talk. And then I got a new job, and we got a surprise bonus, money that we weren't expecting to come, and my wife decided that, or I decided that my wife could go to the Medjugorje. I wasn't practicing my faith at the time. I hadn't practiced my faith for 19 years. But I started a new job. I was a little uncomfortable with the job, and I started to pray a little bit as I was driving to work. And so I told her she could go, but then a couple weeks later I told her I'd go with her. And so she was all excited, and it turns out that the group was led by a charismatic priest, Father Ed O'Connor. And my wife was real concerned that people would be slain in the spirit and praying in tongues, and it would scare me, so she called up Father O'Connor. Well, you have to know Father O'Connor. He's just a real quiet, unassuming guy. And he said, no, it'll be nothing like that. So, and we came, and I don't know, I was touched by the place, the peace, I just felt comfortable here. I went to confession for the first time in 19 years to an Irish priest. And at the end of the confession, he said, well, do you know a act of contrition? So I said, well, I know one, I just memorized it in line, but I don't know if I believe everything I would be saying. And he laughed. He said, say it anyway, you'll believe it soon. So I said the confession, and interestingly, I hadn't gone to communion. We were planning on going to the English Mass so that I could understand the Mass and go to communion then. But somehow we ended up in the line to go to communion for the Croatian. We were sitting on that old ledge outside the church. This was back in 1987. And so we ended up in line, and I ended up going to communion, and the next person in line was Maria. Because they had the apparitions in the tower, and so they would come down the tower and line up outside to get their communion. So I turned around, and there was Maria, and I kind of startled, and she just smiled and nodded her head, and then she went to communion and went back up in the tower. So that's my story.
Unbelievable. And how often did you come back?
This is my 8th trip, I think. We went in 87, 88, didn't come back again till 2001. And then we came back probably 4 or 5 times since I retired. I retired in 2015, and we've been back 4 or 5 times since then.
Why do you come back all the time?
I don't know, I feel home. It's peace. I think the two places I feel most peaceful is here, and then Jim Brown, an Irish man with a prayer ministry. He has a chapel in the back of his house, and it's different here. It's more of a group prayer. Jim's place, there's a group prayer, but there's also time to just be in that chapel, and it's just like you and God, and you and Jesus, and you can just be there all by yourself, and it's kind of like sometimes being in front of the tabernacle where you're the only one in a church, and it's just the two of you.
Beautiful, more intimate, no?
Yeah, very intimate.
Yeah, and do you pray the rosary?
Yes, sure.
Why?
Yeah, Our Lady asked us to, for one.
But what does it bring to you? We do things because it brings something, no?
Yeah.
As humans, what would you say, man? What is the beauty about the rosary?
The simplicity of it, for one thing, and you kind of just lose yourself into the prayers and can think about spiritual things, think about the mysteries, but also other things come to mind, and there's just there's just a peace after you're done praying. And so we have several prayer groups we've are part of, and it's all rosary based.
Wonderful.
So most of them are people that have been here, or either have been here or would like to be here. And so yeah, it's
wonderful.
What's interesting is the number of people we've met, not just from our area, but from all the other areas nearby us. So our group has kind of expanded. So we're from Indiana. Barb, who's with us, she's from Michigan, and she has a group up there, and those two groups get together.
Maybe you can say, where do they meet? Or if
Barb has a prayer meeting in the room of their church. We've been up there for that. Our group
What
went
is the
up-
name of the church? I mean, they can go, people if want to go,
Our
no?
Lady of Peace.
Our Lady of Peace?
It's on a Thursday at 9 o'clock after their Mass. And then we have...
That's in, where in
It's
Bitter?
in Muskegon, Michigan.
Okay.
And then our prayer meetings are at 9 o'clock on Thursday at Little Flower Catholic Church in South Bend, Indiana. And then we also have another rosary prayer meeting where we pray at 1:30 in the afternoon on Wednesdays, where we pray for our children and our grandchildren that are away from the church. That prayer meeting's been going on for 30 years.
Where is that?
And same church, Little Flower Catholic Church. We meet in a little chapel there.
In South Bend.
In South Bend, Indiana, yes.
And what do you think, like, speak loud because the bus is now, what would you tell people who don't believe God the Father? What is the beauty about God the Father? Very loud, eh?
He just takes care of us. I mean, he looks after us, and he gave us Jesus. So obviously, somebody that loving should be someone we should be close to and stay close to. And yeah.
And what would you tell people, like somebody asked me today, like in the commentary, why the Divine Mercy Chaplet? You pray it as well?
Yes, we do.
Why that one?
That's also very peaceful, and I think it's very powerful. I've had the opportunity to be at the bedside of both my mother and my father when they were dying, and able to pray the chaplet, and I take consolation in that.
Wow, powerful.
Yeah, that was very good. It was a real blessing to be there for their, when they were dying and praying the chaplet. So, Our Lady promised that if we would pray that for the dying, in front of the dying as they were dying, that she would provide the graces they need for their salvation. So I take hope in that.
And you told me you are married. I see a long time. Well, I meet a lot of people here, young people who look for their vocation, look for the right partner. What would you give them as an advice? How do you find the right partner? How do you know that it's the right partner?
Find someone that prays.
Wow, beautiful. And what is the secret? How do you stay happy together? I mean, you are quite a while together.
45 years.
45 years, amazing. Yeah. And how can you make that flourish? You say?
Marry the right woman.
You marry, and
I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I married the right woman.
Unbelievable, beautiful.
She has kept us all together all the time. Two of my three children were always faithful. One fell away from the church, but in the last 3 months he's come back, and he's going to Mass, he's going to adoration, and so I guess you just keep praying for him, and I think that's largely a tribute to my wife and all that she's done for all of us, and so yeah.
Beautiful.
I think the secret is my wife.
and describe her. What is a good wife then?
Oh,
what to look for? Is there
she's just very accepting, very humble, prayerful, and she is. You can turn inward; she turns outward. She tries to make everybody else happy.
Wow, beautiful.
We frequently have get-togethers at a house, and she just loves it. I mean, it's a lot of work, but she just loves making everybody happy and keeping everybody comfortable.
Wow, beautiful. And what would you tell you at the end of the interview? What would you tell people? What is so special about Medjugorje? Why should they come here?
It's easy to find God and find yourself. There's a camaraderie here. Everybody here is searching, and people get along well. You pray together. There's power in praying together. And everybody seems to support each other. The people here are very kind to us. They support us, they feed us, they take care of us. And it's got to be difficult taking care of so many people from so many different places with different expectations. They never seem to get upset. And I think that the people contribute to it. I mean, obviously Our Lady's here. Our Lady's everywhere, but she seems to be especially here. And I think there's just great grace from being in this place, and it keeps us coming back.
Wow. Thank you so much for this beautiful, beautiful interview.